What is good, everyone? Welcome back to a top 5 meta loadout video here on Battlefield 6. As always, if you guys could do me a favor and drop a like on today's video and make sure y'all subscribe, those notifications turned on. With that being said, let's get into it. So the first gun up here today is actually going to be the B36A4. This is a really solid AR, and it's got a very manageable TTK, great recoil control. I mean, it's going to bounce a little bit, but overall it is fantastic. All right, so for our first attachment here today, I want you guys to run the standard suppressor. This is really good at, of course, reducing the range in which a soldier is spotted on the minimap while firing. So it does help you out with that. And also it does kind of keep you off of people's general awareness, just because they can't hear you firing that well because you are suppressed. You would not believe the amount of people that A, don't use their minimap, and B, are playing without like an ideal headset or something, just because it's a very casual game. And so they're not really listening to you or hearing you when you have a suppressor on. So it does very much so help you out. I think that is a very nice thing to be able to have on a gun. If you don't want to run that, of course, just the compensated brake is going to work out great for overall general control. I found myself having wonderful success using the standard suppressor. After that, I want y'all to go down in here and run the 510mm fluted barrel. This is probably the best barrel in here. Of course, you can run some other ones which will help with general precision, but you start losing your kind of mobility, which we don't really want to go down to like LMG style territory for mobility. And of course, you don't want to go down here for a light barrel. That's not going to be good, as it totally starts destroying your bullet velocity, which this right here gets you up to 975 meters a second, which is awesome. If you don't happen to have that, I think you should probably just be running most likely like the basic barrel until you end up getting, or I should say you can run the basic, the heavy, and then the extended. But I'm not really sure I'm a big fan of the extended heavy barrel. I like the extra precision, but I don't like losing the mobility. It's not that fun. So this right here is incredible, and I think you guys should definitely be running it. After that, in the underbarrel section, I really like running the ribbed stubby, as this slightly reduces my recoil and enables a slightly faster transition to aim down sight. So it has absolutely no cons. Something I always try to be aware of is that, let's say if I go for this 6H64 vertical right here, if I go for this, it says it significantly reduces recoil at the cost of movement speed and accuracy while aimed down sight. It's like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to throw a grip on your gun, which significantly decreases your accuracy when you're ADS'd. Like, that's the entire way you're using this gun. Largely, unless you get caught at close range and you hip fire a little bit, you're going to be using this thing ADS. So that doesn't really make sense. I don't like that. So it seems like this here is a little bit kind of misleading, and I'd say just to go for something that does not do that, like the rib stubby, or in the other case here, the alloy vertical, which it just slightly reduces your recoil. And I'd probably stay away from some of these other grips here until you get something like the rib stubby. That'd be your best bet. Down here though, for the magazine, I just went with the 36 round mag, which is, 37 with an extra round in the chamber. So that's pretty nice. Almost a 40 round mag. Of course, I'm not spending 25 points. I'm only spending 15. I don't really think any of these other ones down here are going to be worth it. I mean, 30 points on a 40 round fast mag doesn't seem that worth it to me on this gun. Just the way kind of everything balances out, I'm not much of a fan of that. You could always go for the 30 round fast and be perfectly fine and have some extra points left over. Like if you went for this, you would have 90 out of 100 and you could throw another attachment on there, but I really haven't found the need for that. So I've just gone for the 36 right here. Lastly, I went up in here to the scope section and I ended up throwing on the BF2M 2.5X, or the BF2M 2.5X. This is an incredible sight. This is the basic one that comes with the RPK, and it is really good. If you guys don't want to run something like this, you can always run like the holographic on this. You can run basically the mini reflex. You can run, this OSA. All these are going to be good. Even the ROM, this is a really good sight universally. A lot of these sights are really good universally on your ARs and LMGs and, carbines and so on and so forth. So I'm definitely going to give that a try. You can run a lot of stuff. I wouldn't recommend iron sights. This is not one of those guns where you want to use iron sights. Don't go for that. Do yourself a favor. Throw on decent optic. Also, the Baker 3x is a great option as well. So definitely slap that on there. You guys can have a wonderful build. Next up here in this video is going to be the QBZ. This is a carbine that I think a lot of people are really going to like. Take a look at that. The recoil is super manageable. TTK is quite nice. Overall, this is a really fun gun, and I thoroughly enjoyed actually leveling this thing up. Like you can see, I mean, that's a really great TTK out in that firing range. All right, so hopping into it here, this is currently a level 18 gun, so nothing absolutely ridiculous. First attachment's going to be that standard suppressor. Of course, it does the exact same thing here as the B36, so I'm not really going to go and explain that in depth. It's really is really quite nice. I know the TTK, statistically speaking, isn't like the absolute fastest on this thing in comparison to some of the other guns, but when you apply it to like standard practicality, ease of use, recoil control, like when you factor in some of those things and you're not just looking at specific TTK with like every single shot hit perfect accuracy, this is a very usable and pretty nice gun to be able to use. So I think you guys would enjoy using this over something else that's gonna have a lot of recoil, which can be significantly harder to get the ideal TTK with. After that, I want you guys to go through on the 14.5 common barrel, basically the extended. It gives you, you know, some benefits here. Of course, you go from 644 to 805, which almost gets you up into assault rifle territory, which is quite nice. So this has got great like hip fire for close range. It's got pretty solid bullet velocity. The damage profile is awesome. Rate of fire is really great. So I think this is an all-around really solid, you know, carbine to use that you guys could really greatly benefit from actually using. Now down here in the grip section, I'm running the adjustable angled grip. This slightly reduces recoil, improves weapon draw speed, enables a slightly faster transition to aim down sights at the cost of some ADS accuracy while moving. I don't personally notice that a whole lot, so it's not something I've been too worried about. But I was actually going to run the slim angled, but this increases your weapon draw time, like your weapon draw speed. So that makes it slower. It doesn't decrease it. So I'm not really sure. It just increases versus improves. That's kind of something like some of the wording you have to be aware of. So don't go spend your points on that. I was actually going to use that. I tried using it a little bit and I was like, why does my gun feel so slow? It's because, you know, it actually goes ahead and increases your weapon draw speed, which is not good. So definitely try that. If anything, also go for the alloy vertical, which would be perfectly fine as well. You can even try some of the other grips like the folding stubby, but I don't really recommend that over something like the adjustable angle, which is only 15 points and it seems to do the job. After that, we can go down to here and we're running the 30 round fast mag. This is really solid. I mean, I don't get the 36 until level 24, so it's a little bit of ways away, but if you get that, then of course you'll have some point spendage for it. That is actually really solid. You can go back in here, run the standard ammunition. Up in here in the laser section, I have the 5MW green laser. I would definitely switch that over here and actually just about a singular level, and that would be basically my 95 out of 100 points. So I will be running the 50MW green instead of the 5. So that is actually going to be good, but until you happen to get that, you can always go in here to your right accessory, throw in a flashlight if you really want to. I personally don't care. Flashlights have been something I'm trying to stray away from. Not the biggest fan of them. And then lastly, up in here, of course, I got a bunch of new things, but I'm going to be running the Mini Flex 1.0, which I would suggest for you guys all to run. This is really solid, and you can even go down here and run something like a 2 times if you want to. I would really recommend like a 3 and 4 times. This is not really the kind of weapon you want to be running that on. The carbines, you generally stick to about like probably a 3 times and under. Most guns you should stick to like a 3 times and under. So that right there is going to be my full build. All right, next up here is going to be a build with the DRS IAR. This is basically one of the best, if not the best LMG to use in Battlefield 6. You can basically use this as like an assault rifle. It's an LMG, but largely with assault rifle characteristics. And I highly recommend you guys give this a try. First attachment in here is going to be that standard suppressor, though I will say the compensated brake, if you don't mind being a little bit loud and proud, I'd say the compensated brake is a wonderful, wonderful attachment to be able to run on this gun. It is really seriously good for controlling recoil. I personally just like the standard suppressor. I've been trying to run those on a lot of my guns here, as like it does make it harder for people to figure out where you're at. Like just truthfully, like I'm talking about like extensive A/B testing. When I run a suppressor, even if I am showing up on the radar a little bit, people just don't hear me, and I'm able to get more kills, stay alive longer, and that is something that does impact the way you play the game, how you can play the game, how effective you can be. So that's something to consider. But if you really don't want a suppressor, just go for the compensated brake and you guys will be taken care of. But for me, I like to go for that. Down to here, I want y'all to go for the extended barrel, not the heavy extended, as you do get a little bit more precision, but you start losing that mobility and it goes down to 40, which is not good. I know it is an LMG, but this is kind of like an AR LMG hybrid. So we're trying to not bring ourselves down there. So this extended barrel is going to work out great, increases your projectile velocity and enables a faster transition to aim down sights, which is really awesome. So we don't got to mess with that at all. Down to here, I like running that rib stubby. Of course, it reduces your recoil and enables a slightly faster transition to aim down sights, which is exactly what you want. We don't need any of these other grips in here, which are going to potentially have some downsides. One thing I always like to say, run the alloy vertical, and then you have some points left over to run something else. If you don't happen to have this leveled up to, let's say 25 or whatever the required level is to be able to get that rib stubby, definitely just go for the alloy, or even you can try the 6H64, but just keep in mind you might lose some accuracy with that grip. So it's really weird how this is actually kind of deceiving. I'm not a big fan of that, so I just go for the rib stubby so I don't have to deal with any of that. Down here, I go for the 30 round fast mag, as I could definitely spend points on this, but it's like I don't really need to, you know, as I just don't. So I go ahead and kind of slap that on there just because it works out ideally with my build. I'd like a bigger mag, but you know, it is what it is. Actually, technically speaking, I probably could take off this mag well flare if I really wanted to, because I do happen to have that, which enables reloading while aimed down sights. Can be beneficial. So let's say if I go take this off, run absolutely nothing, I could go down here and maybe run a 36 rad mag, and then I'd be at, you know, 95 out of 100 points. So just kind of up to you guys which one to be able to run. I could even just go back to the 30 round fast mag, throw on an accessory if I want to. Let's say I'll go down, throw on the 30 fast. Then I'll go up in here and throw on, let's say, a green laser, which is 10 points, and increase my overall hip fire. So definitely can do that. You can kind of mess with this a variety of ways. You're not really going to make or break your build, but this is definitely really nice. Then, of course, lastly, I like going for that mini flex. And if I'm going for something a little bit bigger on the zoom side of things, I'll go for like a 1.7, maybe that ROM, or even I'll go down here, and basically the most I'll use is this Baker 3 times. I find this to be very, very clear, super easy to see. Don't feel the need to go for a high zoom optic on this. Largely, most of my gunfights I'm going to be using this at are going to be within the range of that 1 to 3 times scope. So definitely just something to keep in mind. Hope you guys enjoyed this build. Next up is going to be a build here with the SGX. This is an absolutely incredible SMG, super fun to be able to use. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, this is a very, very effective SMG out to some like decent range. That's almost borderline not moving, and that's like without a compensator. All right, hopping into it here. This is a level 18 gun. I have the suppressor on here first of all, so we're gonna go ahead and just slap that on there. You guys don't got to go for anything else. In the barrel section, I got the extended barrel on there just because the basic, I'm only at 400 meters of bullet velocity, 402 versus now I go to 502. So nice little increase right there. It was like 20% or whatever it is. 10-20% math, right? But this increases your projectile velocity and enables a faster transition to your aim down sights. So we absolutely love that, and we're going to be rolling with that. On the grip side of things, I have the alloy vertical, so I just don't start losing accuracy with any of these. I could go for this, but I mean, I don't want to start losing accuracy while moving, as with an SMG, that's primarily what you're doing. You're not posted up camping, right? So we're just going to go for the alloy vertical, as it does everything we need it to, as you guys can see by the firing range. Down here in the magazine, I just got the 30 round mag on here, as I don't feel like I need to go for the 36, and I don't get the 30 fast for another few levels, so I'm just going to go ahead and slap that. We're going to go up in here now to the laser section. I run the 50 MW green, which is quite nice to be able to have increase my hip fire to 62. Very, very nice to be able to have that. I'm not going to lie, absolutely love having a good hip fire with an SMG. Makes it all that more beneficial at close range, as that's the range you're using it for, and of course, as per usual, the Mini Flex 1.0. So definitely try that out. That is my full build for the SGX. All right, last but not least, I got to give you guys a build here for the NVO228. This is a really solid AR you guys can have a lot of fun with. You can build this out to be very mobile, but this thing has got a very, very fast TTK, just because the actual damage profile on it's pretty nice, pretty solid. So would recommend you guys use this thing. So for the first attachment, I'd recommend y'all run the double port brake. This is a level 21 gun, and for whatever reason, it takes the absolute most amount of time to get like the compensator brake. Like level 38 is actually absurd for that, so we're probably not going to be getting that anytime soon, based on the fact that I use other guns. So I'd recommend the compensator brake for anybody else that is playing this in that's normal and not no-lifing this game. So definitely would recommend that. What I was talking about the TTK is that it has a 33 damage, which is generally speaking pretty high for an assault rifle and really any gun in the game. The rate of fire is 654. So overall, this is kind of like, you know, a very high damage, medium fire rate gun, and you will take people out very quickly. So that is something I quite like about the NVO. I also enjoy being kind of agile and mobile with it. So I have two different versions of setups, but I've also shown you guys a lot of red dots. So I'm not trying to show you guys that one again. In the barrel section, I want y'all just run the extended barrel. Pretty kind of, you know, self-explanatory. You don't want to go for a short, don't want to go for a basic. You just want something that increases your projectile velocity and enables a faster transition to your aim down sight. So you go for the basic barrel, that's 671 bullet velocity, not ideal, no bueno. So we're gonna go for 838 there on the custom and get a faster transition on our ADS. Down here in the grip section, I've ran two different things, the classic vertical, which can be quite nice. Also, I've ran the slim angled if I want to be more agile and mobile, and let's say I want to throw on like a red dot and be a pretty aggressive player with this gun. That is something I will definitely do, but for the purposes of making something just better for range, y'all can throw in the classic vertical here, or even go throw in the alloy vertical. That is perfectly acceptable as well, but I have a lot of extra points to spend here. If I do that, then I have like 20 extra, and I ain't got attachment for it. So definitely try that. Try the alloy. You can even try this slim angled. All of them are going to be pretty solid. For standard ammunition, For the laser section, I want y'all to run the 5MW green laser. Of course, when you get this, you can definitely go for that. I'm literally 1 level away, so I'll probably slap that bad boy on there. And then after that, for a final attachment, you guys just throw on the 3VZR 1.75X. Overall, you could throw on probably the 2.0. You could throw on like really any of these 2.0s if you really want to. I think this actually kind of comes with a variant here, so that's pretty neat. But I just, generally speaking, go for like a 1.7, a 1.0, you know, something like that. I never go for the iron sights, by the way. Don't really do that. So I just say to go for kind of what makes you feel comfortable. Anything 3 times and below is going to be good. Largely, I think if you start getting to like a 4.5 times, like that's a little bit absurd. I don't think you need any of these other like crazy scopes. They're not going to be that beneficial. It's going to be harder to use based on the overall kick of the gun than it is going to be to actually use the gun. So definitely use whatever you want. But overall, that is my top 5. You guys enjoyed it. Give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see y'all next time.